I feel like I have made and remade this video at least 4 times. On multiple different days at multiple different times. And every time I try to make this video, I cannot get through it. I end up bawling my eyes out like a baby. And each time I tell myself, this is the time I'm not going to cry. And I believe myself this time. I believe myself this time. I might cry a little bit. But if you know me, I don't like to share emotions a lot. That's why I'm a writer. That's why I'm a storyteller. My emotions come out in writing, not in the one-on-one type scenario. Speaking of storytelling, you guys remember a few weeks ago I had said that we had a secret to share. And so I'm finally at the point where I can share that secret with you and explain to you why I hadn't shared it with you yet. Now, you probably have already seen it on Facebook. If you follow me online, it's there. But there's a story behind it, and I love sharing stories. And I feel like the story could probably help others. I've actually shared it in private forums, but I wanted to share it here too, because I know that there are a lot of women that go through a lot of issues when it comes to infertility and pregnancy. Yes, I am pregnant. I am 8 weeks, almost 9 weeks pregnant. And we are rejoicing in that, but it's not as simple as that. The awesome thing about being a storyteller is that you have this amazing opportunity to tell somebody else's story. And if you have followed me for any amount of time online, my YouTube channel, I've posted videos of stories of other people. The most recent one being about some friends of ours that just had to close down their dairy farm. It's been one of my most popular videos, telling a story about their life and why they're moving. And if you follow my blog, then you know there's a lot more stories over there. I love to share life with people. I love to tell stories. I love to tell other people's stories. The issue, however, with being a storyteller is that when it comes to your own story, you never know how the story's going to end. So when I was in school, I loved English. Big shocker. I loved English, and I can remember the diagrams in English, and they would give you this diagram, and there would be this field, and then a mountain, a really steep mountain, and then it would plateau and then go drop down. And so at the top of this mountain, you would call this your climax point, your major point in the story line, where everything that you're doing before that gets to this point. And you have to make everything before that count to get to this point. But more than anything, this top point is what's the most important part of your story. So they would give us these diagrams that we would have to fill out with ideas, like how can I get to this top point? And then at the end, you've reached your point, you're going down the mountain, and you're just closing out the story. That's great when you're telling other people's stories. It's so easy, it's so much fun, but when you're telling your own story, it's like where am I? I have reached the 3rd hilltop that I thought was going to be the mountaintop, and it's not the mountaintop, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to feel. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what to tell other people. And so it's just it's a whirlwind of emotions that you go through. So the effort of making this very quick, but still keeping the story intact for you and raw and real for you. If you have followed me for any amount of time, you know that we have, my husband and I have a 9-year-old, Junior, and he was our first child. And it only took me about 3 months to get pregnant with Junior when I went off birth control, which was surprising to me because my cycles had always been irregular. I didn't think that it would happen that quickly, and it did. And I always called him, I thought, my miracle child, because for some reason, I just always knew that I was going to have issues. Even though I was not overweight, I just knew for some reason. So we got pregnant with Junior. I went into preterm labor with Junior at 34 weeks. Didn't even know I was in preterm labor. And we stopped the labor pretty quickly. And then I didn't deliver him until 41 weeks, which is a surprise because I went off of the medicine at 36 weeks and I walked around, 4 to 5 centimeters dilated for a month, it seemed. Healthy pregnancy though, otherwise. Labor and delivery was great, delivered him naturally without an epidural, and our hospital experience was not that amazing, but that's neither here nor there. So when Junior was about 3, we decided that we wanted to stop preventing from getting pregnant, and I knew we'd probably struggle a little bit, but I didn't realize how bad we would struggle. I was overweight. I gained a lot of weight after having Junior for a lot of different reasons. And my OB had told me, after the first couple years, he told me, he said, listen, if you gained a lot of weight, then if you lose that weight and you get back to your pre-pregnancy weight, then you'll probably get pregnant again right away. And I thought, okay, whatever, I wasn't that concerned about it. Well, a couple of years ago, years had gone by, we hadn't gotten pregnant, didn't really think anything more about it. A few years ago, just a couple of years ago, around this time of year, I had a miscarriage, and I wasn't even aware that I was pregnant. And truly, I think that was the most silver lining, the greatest blessing in the whole thing. I know it's hard to think that there could be blessings in such heartache, but the fact that I didn't know, I felt like that helped me grieve a lot better than if I had known that I was pregnant and had a miscarriage. I still grieved. It took me a long time to talk about it. It took me a year before I even posted about it anywhere, period. Miscarriage isn't something that you just blow off when you really have a miscarriage. It's a grieving process. I mean, it does something to you. Women don't talk about it. And I feel like we should talk about it a lot more because it happens all the time to very healthy women. Very healthy women, it happens. And it's like we sweep it under a rug, and then women feel like they have to go through it all by themselves, and you don't. There's so many. I bet you that you know at least 3 women that have had miscarriages in your life. That's the plain and simple fact. So I shared my experience. I shared that online with you guys and got an outpouring of support a year later when I shared my experience. And I didn't get pregnant again. And I just, I'd come to terms with the fact that we were not going to get pregnant. Junior was older. I had some freedom back again. I could start doing things. I've been writing books. I've been planning the Homesteaders of America conference. My career is starting to come back because my child is older and pretty soon he's going to be a teenager, and I got to find something to do with my life. And I had time to do stuff that I loved. And so I just knew we weren't going to have any more kids. I didn't want any more kids. I'd so come to terms with it that I didn't even want any more kids. And, but there was always this feeling that we would have another child. I don't know how to explain that. I remember praying about it one night and just having this overwhelming feeling that we would have another baby. And, it was like this promise that was just never happening. And I just chalked it up to emotions. So fast forwarding to today, in July, towards the end of July, I decided to go get really serious about losing weight. I had lost some weight already. I'd lost about 15 pounds the year before that. But I really wanted to get serious about being healthy. I was going to be, a very young mom when Junior decides to leave. He's 9, he's almost 10, he'll be 10 next year. In 8 more years, he'll be 18 and more than likely out of the house, knowing him and his independent nature. And I want to get my life back together. I want to be healthy and able to do stuff, and so I got really serious about losing weight in July of this year. And in September, in July I went on the keto diet, very lazy keto diet. Come September, the first part of September, I had lost 20 pounds since July. And that's a significant weight drop in such a short amount of time, but I was doing it a very healthy way. And I reached my pre-pregnancy weight that I had been with Junior the first part of September. And it hit me a little bit like, okay, game on, this could be something. And the fact that a friend of mine who's a nutritionist told me, she said, you know, the keto diet has been proven to heal PCOS, to balance out hormones, to get rid of insulin resistance. She's like, you're gonna get pregnant. And I'm like, pfft. Other women get pregnant, Gina. I don't get pregnant. It's not what I do. I don't get pregnant. And she laughed. She's like, okay. And so it hit me the first part of September. Okay, you've reached your pre-pregnancy weight. Actually, a couple pounds less than your pre-pregnancy weight when you got pregnant with Junior. You're on the keto diet, which means if you had hormonal imbalances, they've probably evened themselves out. And you could get pregnant. What are you going to do? And I literally said to myself, I'm going to go get fixed. Like, I don't want any more kids. But between that and planning the conference and editing my books, I never really had time to think about it much. So come October, a month later, a little over a month later, was conference. And I remember thinking, I'll probably, you know, be right around that point to start around the week of conference or the week after conference, somewhere between there. But I was really horrible at tracking my cycles because I'd never gotten pregnant. You know, you take so many pregnancy tests when you're late and they all come back negative and you're just like, what's the point in tracking cycles if you're never gonna get pregnant? And so I remember that Saturday at the conference feeling really tired, I had some waves of nausea kind of come over me, and it kind of hit me then, you know, you're late, a little bit late, you could be pregnant. And then I just kind of blew it off and thought, no, it's just because I haven't eaten right for the past week. So a lot of things happened. There were a lot of signs that following week after the conference. I was really tired, chalked it up to conference work. I was really, had some waves of nausea, but chalked it up to not eating right the past couple of weeks, being so busy and on the road a lot. And it was just, I didn't want to think about it. So then some things transpired, and the weekend after the conference, I said, I'm late. I really need to take a pregnancy test. Had an old one. That Sunday morning after the conference, the following weekend, I took one and it came back positive. And I went, yeah, right. Okay. No, that's not true. And, you know, I showed it to Mark and he kind of laughed a little bit like, oh, because just the week before, I finally had a chance to sit down and talk to him about not having any more kids, about getting fixed. I was under the impression he didn't want any more kids. I didn't want to have to deal with it anymore. I just wanted to go get fixed and not have to worry about it. And we would often joke about, you know, God's going to wait till we're 40 and drop a kid inside me then, and then I'm going to just be a mess. And so I didn't believe the test. And I went to the store and bought a couple more tests just to be sure. Took them that afternoon. You're supposed to take them in the morning because your HCG levels are higher then in your urine. I figured if I was pregnant, it was going to show up either way. I took the test that afternoon. Both of them came back immediately as positive. And I knew I was pregnant. I didn't know what to do. And I know that sounds horrible. But it's literally like starting all over again. You know, I have so much that I'm doing. And, you know, we had talked about putting the house on the market for a long time and like adding a baby into all of this stuff. And it's like, this wasn't my plan. And I kept thinking, okay, it's not my plan, but this is what the plan is. And this is, well, I'll have to adapt. Of course, Mark was ecstatic. He was so excited. And I'm like, you're the one who didn't even want any more kids. You just wanted one. He's like, no, I really would love to have more kids. And I'm just like, what is happening? What earth am I on? I am in alternate universe where I have a 9-year-old and a decade later, I'm about to have another one. And I don't even know what to do. And so Mark asked me, he's like, well, I really don't want to have another hospital birth. It wasn't that great. He's like, you know, I know you didn't enjoy that. Would you like to do, you know, explore a birthing center? I was like, whoa, wait. Like, this stuff isn't even in my vocabulary anymore. I don't even know what I would want. You know, it's not like we've been planning this for years. I have no plan. I have no plan at all as to what I want. So I didn't know how far along I was. And the immediate fear of, okay, now I know that I'm pregnant. What happens if I have another miscarriage? And anyhow, so I try not to think about it. The following week we visited a birthing center, loved it, decided to go with that, and the midwife's there. She sent me that week to go get an ultrasound done. And I didn't know what to expect, because when you go to an OB, an obstetrician, they are able to do the ultrasound there and tell you the results and everything. But that's not how it is with a radiologist. The midwife has to outsource the ultrasound to the radiologist. The radiologist can't really tell you anything, and you play the waiting game. So I thought that I was probably 7 or 8 weeks pregnant. Again, I didn't know, because I was horrible at tracking. So Mark went with me that day, and we had gotten to the radiology center, and she came in and she told us, she's like, I really can't tell you anything. I can show you on the stuff on the screen. She's like, but I really can't tell you anything. The radiologist has to read that. And so, I'm not dumb. I've had a baby before. I know what a baby at 7 weeks looks like on an ultrasound screen, because I had a 5-day ultrasound with Junior when I was pregnant with him. So we got in there, and the first thing I noticed was that she was playing Christian music on her phone. And I thought, what a bold move, because a lot of people don't listen to Christian music. And then she was kind of humming along and doing the ultrasound, and then she just went really quiet, and she just didn't say anything. And so she got to the end, and she flipped the screen around. She's like, okay, here it is. And she points to this little tiny pinpoint on the screen, and then she flips it back around and she says, you're done. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is not what this is supposed to look like. And immediately, this wave of fear just consumed me. I was literally crippled by fear, because in my mind, it was all happening over again. Except this time I knew that I was pregnant, and this time I knew, and it was gonna end in a miscarriage. There was nothing there to see. I saw nothing. There was absolutely nothing on that screen for me to see. And so I remember just sitting there and thinking nothing. I mean, I felt nothing. And so we got in the car, and this song came on, and I remember hearing the song 3 times before we got to the ultrasound tech place. And it came on again as soon as we got in the car. And the song is called Fear is a Liar. And I remember thinking I should hold on to this. This is what I should be telling myself. It was just fear. It could be too early. There's a lot of things that it could be. But I just doubted. I had so much doubt, because I just didn't think anything could come of any of it. I had to wait all weekend. I went on a Friday. I had to wait all weekend for the ultrasound results. They came back on Monday. The midwife called me, and she said, listen, she said, there wasn't much to see. You only measured 6 weeks, 0 days, which is a little bit less than you thought you would be. They saw a questionable yolk sac, and they didn't see a fetal pole, and they didn't see a heartbeat. And you don't have much hope after hearing that. But she assured me it could still be really early. The heartbeat doesn't start between 5 and 6 weeks. and it might not start until a few days after 6 weeks. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I just knew it was over. It was over. So over the next week, you know, she said, listen, she's like, let's have you come in for blood draws. She's like, I can do HCG blood draws. We can see if your levels are going up. If they are going up, then we know that something's growing, something's working. I said, okay. I went in that Wednesday for my first blood draw, and you know, she called me and said, you know, your HCG levels came back really high, which is really good. They're really promising. Your progesterone is a little lower than I'd like, which basically progesterone is a hormone that keeps you pregnant. It keeps your baby sustaining until the placenta starts taking over and creating its own progesterone. And she's like, so let's get you on a progesterone supplement, and then we'll do the next blood draw on Friday. So increasingly, I was getting sick. I was very sick with Junior when I was pregnant with him. I was debilitatingly sick with him. I lost 20 pounds. I probably should have been put on a medication. I was very sick with him. I became increasingly sick over the next week. Never did vomit or anything, but just have been really, really bad nausea. So I went in that Friday, which is 48 hours later, to do my second blood draw. And she's like, listen, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to Hawaii. I will keep checking it this weekend to get the blood results back. If it's bad, I'll call you. If it's good, I'll email you. I said, okay. Well, Saturday came, I didn't hear from her. Sunday came, I didn't hear from her. Monday came, I didn't hear from her. And I thought, great, this is going to kill me. I had scheduled an ultrasound for that Friday, which was last Friday. And so Monday, or I guess it was Tuesday morning, came, or it was late Monday, I can't remember now. And the phone rings, and it's my midwife, and I'm thinking, here it is. It's bad. It's over with. And I answer the phone, and she goes, don't freak out. She's like, there's nothing wrong. She's like, but you're not going to believe this. The lab lost your blood sample. And so what happens is the midwife will take your blood sample, and then a lab, like LabCorp or something, will come pick it up, and they lost it. And she's like, so I can't tell you if your HCG levels are going up. She's like, and at this rate, you wouldn't be able to come until tomorrow, which would be been last Wednesday. You wouldn't be able to come in for a second blood draw until Friday, which is your ultrasound. So you might as well just wait for your ultrasound. And I'm like, ugh, you have to be kidding me. Like, this would happen to me, wouldn't it? And so I'm having all this doubt and all this fear, and yet at the same time I'm having all these symptoms of pregnancy. I mean, just increasingly getting worse. And, you know, I remember just doubting and just doubting beyond belief that this was a viable pregnancy. And, you know, and the song would keep coming on. I would get in the car, if the Christian radio station was on at the time, it would always come on as soon as I'd get in, and I'd think, and eventually I just started turning it off. and we do that. You know, God could show us every single thing that we need to see, and we still doubt it. We still doubt it. And, you know, I've had people comment online saying, gosh, you're just this great Christian, and you're this, you know, you're always full of hope and joy. And if you knew how much I fail every single day, you wouldn't say that. I'm just like everyone else. We all just sin a little differently, or we doubt a little differently. or we have disbelief a little differently. Or when things get hard, we turn away. Or we just run away. So my ultrasound was scheduled for Friday. This was last Friday. And wouldn't you know, I was hanging on to this blood test to be like my saving reassurance that everything was going to be okay. And don't go to Google and don't go to these pregnancy forums and look for advice, because every single one will be bad. And, I found a lot of reassuring advice, but I found a lot of horrible advice too, and bad outcomes. And so it snowed on Thursday, and I'm about 45 minutes away from where the ultrasound place is, and they got like 6 inches of snow, a lot more than we did. And the roads were horrible. The roads were icy. I wasn't going to go out in that. And so I had to cancel my ultrasound appointment again. So this was 2 weeks now, 2 weeks since my last ultrasound, that I was having all of this happen. And I thought, God, this is like modern day Job. Like, why do I have to wait? Why am I going through this? I just need reassurance. So I rescheduled it for Monday, which was just a couple of days ago this week. And Mark couldn't go with me. He had to go to work. Which I'm actually... I knew if something bad was going to happen, I wanted to be by myself. That's just how I am. And so I got there that morning. I got there early because I thought my appointment was at 8:30. It was at 10:30. So I had a couple hours to wait, which was fine because I had some errands I could run. I got in there and the place was hopping because everyone's off work this week and trying to get stuff done. So she finally called me back, and it was a different tech. And I said, listen, I've had a miscarriage before. I've been waiting 2 weeks. So could you just tell me if there's a heartbeat? That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. She's like, yes. She's like, I'm a little bit more experienced. And she's like, I can tell you if there's a heartbeat. If there is a heartbeat, I can tell you how many weeks you're measuring. She's like, that's about all I can tell you. And I said, okay. There was nothing to see at the first one, so I didn't get any pictures or video or anything because there was nothing there. And so, the second blessing in this is that my midwife had ordered an internal ultrasound versus a external Doppler ultrasound, which you can see more with the internal one. And so there was that less stress of having to do the external one and not see much and then do the internal one, or not do the internal one at all and still be in limbo. And so, she was great. She took my mind off the whole process. She started talking about Thanksgiving and chickens and chickens. Come on, we talked about chickens. And so finally she was done with her pictures, and she flips the screen around, and there is this baby on the screen. And its little heart is just flickering, just so fast. And I know it's a blob, and it's just this little blob, but it is alive, and it wasn't there 2 weeks ago. And there was no heartbeat 2 weeks ago. There was nothing 2 weeks ago. And here's this little tiny gummy bear looking thing with this beautiful heartbeat. And it was amazing. And she said, so your baby is alive and looks good. She's like, I can't tell you anything, but here's your baby. You're measuring right on track with what you were measuring 2 weeks ago. You're, in the middle of your 8 weeks. And I'll give you pictures and I'll give you a video on a disc, and you could take it home. And it was just surreal to think that this was true. That fear was a liar this entire time. And I still doubted all of it. So she gave me a disc with pictures and video, and I'm still waiting. I go today to see the midwife. Today is Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, and to make sure the ultrasound, all the rest of it came back fine. To me, it looked like it was fine, but you know, I just want to make sure. But I say all of that to say that you have to share your story. There's a lot of people that have said you shouldn't share about any of this until you are in your second trimester. I've had so many people say that. And trust me, that was my plan originally. But when you see that heartbeat on the screen, there's life. When you see that little heartbeat flickering, there's something alive in there. And my personal belief is that anything that has life should be celebrated. And right now it does. And we are believing that it will continue to thrive and be sustainable and sustained. And you know, they say that once you hear a heartbeat or see a heartbeat at 8 weeks, that you're 90% less likely to have a miscarriage. And of course, there's always those freak incidences that happen. And so I'm just believing that it won't happen. And I'm trying to lean on that promise that fear is the liar. And I'm trying to lean on that promise that everything will turn out okay. And I'm trying to lean on that promise of this is how it was always meant to be. And it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's difficult to share this and then know that there's still that possibility of anything could happen. But isn't that life? Life is so unpredictable. But it's still worth celebrating. So, I want to encourage you, whatever you're going through, whatever you're walking through, if you are completely crippled by fear, I want you to look around and I want you to notice all of the things that are rejecting that fear and that are telling you to not be afraid. You know, fear isn't from God. I feel like it can be a normal human emotion that we go through. And I think that we should be realistic in our lives. But there's a reason that God tells us to have hope and to have hope in Him. And so I covet your prayers. I share this with you because I said something to my mom the other day. I said, Mom, I don't want to ask for prayers when I need them. I want to ask for prayers before I need them so that I don't need them when times get bad, so that times won't get bad. You know, I was watching a video of another YouTuber's birthing center birth that she had. And she had said she always waits to ask people for prayer when she goes into labor. And this time around, she asked before she went into labor. And that just stuck with me. You know, why wait when you need it? Why not start before you need it when you know you're going to need it? And so, we are excited. I'm excited to finally share it with you. I have a lot of stuff that I want to share with you throughout this pregnancy. I'm going to try to document a lot of it. Like I said, we are using the birthing center. We are using a midwife, which is new. I'm not scared. Someone asked me if I was scared to not be at a hospital. I'm not. You know, I've had a natural birth before. I wanted to do a lot of things differently at the hospital, but I didn't have the freedom to do. And I feel like my delivery would have gone easier. It didn't go bad, but I just feel like it would have gone easier for me. And, you know, I had the option to have a birthing tub and a birthing sling, and there's a lot of options that I wish I would have had the first time that I didn't. And so I'm actually really excited about it. I'm really excited about that possibility. And I love the birthing center and the people that work there, and so that's a bonus. And I've got friends that have birthed there, and that's even a better bonus. And we're just really excited to share this with you. And so that's the big secret. My due date is in June, so June 28th is my due date. And so it could go either way. I could have a baby in June, or I could have a baby in July, which means that I will have a lot on my plate come October of this next year during conference. And I have an amazing team and amazing friends behind me that are already picking up the slack to help, because I have been really sick and really unmotivated to do much of anything. And they have been really, really great with all of their help, and it's just wonderful. Hopefully I'll have some more videos out for you guys more frequently soon. I do have some blog posts up on the blog that are some recipes straight out of my book, The Homesteader's Herbal Companion. I wanted to share some of my favorites with you from now through Christmas time. You can make homemade gifts, you can make herbal gifts, or some of them are actually food recipes, like an herbal marshmallow root hot chocolate, which is really, really good. You should try. So go over to the blog. I'll link all that stuff below. And then I'm hoping to have a couple of videos out for you guys over the next few weeks, and just updates and letting you know what's going on. So, all right, it's over. I made it through, and I didn't cry hysterically. You guys should have seen the first video. Oh my goodness. I did nothing but cry. Like, I went and I thought, oh, this will be okay. And I went and I watched it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even get through that. I'm going to ruin people. I'm going to like make their day so depressing. It's not even funny. So yeah, so you're welcome. And thank you for following our journey. And thank you for being an amazing group of people. And I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season, and happy homesteading.